Well, welcome into Brewcast for Mesa Brew on the SB Nation Podcast Network. I am Luke Giardi, joined as always by Anthony Broom and Chris Castellani here with you on Monday night, April 19th. And headed into Tuesday, April 20th. We've got a lot to get to here today. Reminder, we are recording this for those listening on the podcast live on YouTube, live on the Mesa Brew YouTube channel, as well as the Mesa Brew Twitch channel. So thank you to everyone hanging out. Going to take your questions here in a bit. Obviously, some big football news at the end of last week that, we were none too thrilled about, but that dominated the conversation for a couple of days, and got some new news here today on a former Michigan quarterback on where he's going to be going. But before we get into all that, Anthony, Chris, what's going on, fellas? How we doing here today?
Well, it's good to be here. Not as sharply dressed as our co-host was in his podcast appearance over the weekend, but good to be here nonetheless. We're getting to the part of the off season where sometimes it feels like we have to kind of scrape the bottom of the barrel for storylines, but we have things to talk about today. We're going to take questions from people here, and some people have already sent them on in, and we'll get to those at the end of the show. But yeah, it's good to be back. Always good to be here with you two strong, handsome gentlemen.
Thank you. Sometimes it gets difficult in the summer months, but the one thing you can't deny about Michigan football is they are a content machine. Whether negative or positive, there is always some feathers being ruffled. And we got a fair amount of that last week with the Xavier Worthy news. So yeah, if there's anyone out there worried about how we're going to find content, this football program, basketball program as well, but especially during the offseason, the football program, they just like finding things to talk, giving us things to talk about. And in that way, God bless them for it.
Dude, it never stops.
No.
Legitimately, it's truly amazing, and it as of late, obviously, it seemed to be a little more negative than positive. This past one last week was obviously for those that have been, I don't know, hopefully just disconnected from all of this. I salute you if you were able to do that. But Xavier Worthy, I believe Thursday of last week, the news broke, and he made it official that he asked out of his letter of intent to the University of Michigan. He does plan on playing elsewhere. And sounds like this was a factor of things. So at first, we knew there was some weird things that happened with his admissions, and the fact that he wanted to enroll early but wasn't able to. Sounds like it was maybe a bit of a clerical error. Sounded like Angelique had heard that and reported that on Twitter a little bit, but we also heard rumblings of maybe some negative recruiting that was happening with Xavier Worthy. So it seemed that there was a vacuum created by the administration and the admissions office to allow for the negative recruiting to happen. And ultimately sounds like that may have happened, and Xavier Worthy is going to be playing football elsewhere. And I think it's obviously a big blow. He's a top 100 guy. In what was going to be a good recruiting class. We were hoping, him and JJ McCarthy were going to gel and, be the next great duo of Michigan football. But obviously that's not going to be the case. And I know some people tried to spin it as a positive. We've heard good things about Andrell Anthony and some of these other guys, that were here last year. What was your main takeaway from all this?
Pain.
Yeah.
Suffering. And the immediate reaction from a lot of people is, well, Andrell Anthony had a good spring, and Christian Dixon had a good spring, and you still have AJ Henning, and blah, 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 whatever. We talk all the time about, and I'm not trying to start on a negative note, but here we are. It's the title of the podcast this week. We got to talk about the bad things. We talk all the time about how there is a talent. I mean, there's a talent gap with Ohio State. The extent of that can be debated. It's splitting hairs. It's 4 stars versus other 4 stars and 5 stars, what have you. Michigan more has a player development problem, if you ask me. But when you talk about what closing that gap looks like and how you put yourself in a position to win that game, it's by accruing top 100 recruits like Infinity Stones, like the Buckeyes do. Or at least for every 2 they grab, you grab one of them. Xavier Worthy is a top 100 guy who has home run speed, literal track speed, a guy who knows, might go down and play for Steve Sarkisian at Texas and be the next Devontae Smith. Similar builds, all that type of stuff. It's massively disappointing. And if it is a clerical error on Michigan's, I mean, this is, so when people talk about there being administrative things or school things that hold back the football program, if this was indeed an admissions issue, this is the type of thing that people are referring to. It's why you see way more transfers out than transfers in, because there are, certain credits here and there. And I don't know how the admissions process works. I would have never gotten into the University of Michigan. So it is what it is there. The fact that I don't know if it is a clerical issue that led to this, because he wanted to be here. I mean, as of a couple weeks ago, there were people, coaches telling people or players telling people that Xavier Worthy's coming, and they couldn't get it ironed out. The scuttlebutt is that Jim Harbaugh and Josh Gaddis kind of bent over backwards to try and make this happen. And Michigan's administration, whatever it is, admissions would not budge. And that is, Michigan's problems on the field are much bigger than that, but that's an area that doesn't help them at all. So you have to be your margin of error is so much less in these other areas if you can't get these borderline guys in. And we just know in those borderline areas, they haven't done very well in terms of coaching, player development, and recruiting top 100 guys. So it's massively, massively disappointing.
Yeah, you said it very eloquently. I guess the take that what I can add to this conversation is my initial reaction, which I think you asked about, Luke, was just we need to come up with a term for this that's relative to SOL. I mean, SOM, same old. Like, this is very Michigan football in a weird way is starting to mirror the New York Mets. And for people who aren't baseball fans, the Mets are the kings of having these really random injuries and suspensions, guys getting into the wrong cab and getting sick, guys breaking their feet on their ranch like Yoenis Cespedes did. It just feels like I've never seen this happen ever, like at any other school. And do I think it's only because it's a Michigan problem? No, it is stunning to me that something like this can happen for a guy who basically just committed. It's brutally disappointing. I will say, and I can't call it a silver lining, but I do think there will be depth at that position. Like, I don't think that the wide receiver core is now completely ruined because they lost out on Worthy. Now, it hurts. It hurts because no one's really established themselves. We could obviously make the argument that a big reason for that is because of the quarterback play, and that's probably a fair argument, but I think the wide receiver group will be okay, but it's symbolically this bothers me a lot more because, man, every time it seems like they're getting up on their feet, they end up falling down again somehow.
Yeah, it's really, it sucks to lose a talented guy, obviously, like Xavier Worthy, but just the principle of the whole situation. Right. Really, it feels way worse, than just losing one player. Because it's like, by all accounts, this could have been easily avoided, it sounds like. And this is part of why I know we've talked about it, and I understand, I know I've said this before about Jim Harbaugh, and I understand he hasn't met expectations at Michigan. He's come close a couple of times. He started out hot out the gate, but obviously things have kind of taken a turn for the worse. But I think it's partly his fault, but I think there is a lot. This is what I've always said, that there's something behind the scenes that's kind of preventing Michigan from winning. Like, if Jim Harbaugh cannot consistently win at the University of Michigan, I don't know who the hell can, because the guy has won literally everywhere he's ever gone. Trash programs, he's made them winners. Went to the NFL, made the 49ers a winning team, went to 3 NFC championship games. The man wins football games, yet somehow, some way at the University of Michigan, with the budget, with the money that they've got, facilities, the recruiting prowess, the guy can't win. Like, it's partly on him, but I really feel there is something behind the scenes, and I think this was kind of a peek behind the curtain into one of those things that it's just these factors that you don't see that's preventing this program from taking that next step.
Yeah, and there's a comment on the YouTube, and get your comments and questions in on YouTube and Twitch. This is from Kevin. He says, the admissions excuse is a cop-out. The admissions issue was fixed when Xavier was in Ann Arbor. He chose to leave campus. I don't have inside info on that. I don't know what the pay sites are saying. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Here's what it boils down to, regardless of what it is. It's a joke and it sucks.
Yeah.
I know people are looking for more eloquent answers than that, but I don't know. You're looking to. I know people say, "Oh, we haven't developed wide receivers in the past. Whenever we have too many talented guys that don't pan out, anyways." If you believe that, fine. But again, right now it's just lotto tickets. They're scratch offs, and yeah, they might not pan out. And history would suggest some of those higher end guys might not. I mean, Michigan hasn't had a skilled player drafted in the first round since Braylon Edwards, so that speaks for itself. But they still have. There's just I don't know what the disconnect is with the things that kind of bite them in the rear end. On Twitter last week, I kind of just said it's a cosmic thing. I mean, we've seen them lose to Appalachian State. We've seen them lose, Blake O'Neal had a good year, was a good punter, but he had one bad play at Michigan that defines his entire career. We saw that happen in that Michigan State game. We saw them lose an Ohio State game in Columbus by an inch. Like, everyone tries to diagnose, like, first, we could go into the what ails them. That could be its own podcast, and we've done that before. It just, outside of the obvious tangible things, it just feels like this goes back. This is almost a 2-decade thing now where, like, it's just a Murphy's Law cosmic prison that we're in. I don't understand it.
When it rains, it pours, and it continues to rain after that. I'm feeling the same way. Like, I don't even have much else to add. I just know it's remarkably disappointing. I mean, it's April 19th and they've already disappointed us. So yeah, it's extremely frustrating. And I know, like, obviously they'll never say it, but I am sure that internally within the program, there's been rumblings about that too, of like, man, can we just have one, like, solid off season, no controversy, nothing goes wrong. And it just doesn't seem like we can get through it.
At some point, we will get like a psychic on here, and maybe we can have them read the tarot cards or something. But
yeah.
We've had a few people trying to talk about Andrell Anthony in the spring game and stuff like that. There was one comment earlier, Anthony, you put up talking about we hear about these guys in a spring game and then we never hear from them again. Well, that's mostly true. I feel like the first we ever heard of Ronnie Bell was kind of the spring game, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I don't remember. I remember the guys like Freddie Canteen and Mike Sane we're still kind of waiting for him to break out. Those are the types of guys I remember. Ronnie Bell, I feel like he was a fall camp enrollee.
He was a fall camp standout that we didn't really. Let me say this. Really got excited about.
Here's the other thing, like, about the wide receiver room. It's less about the fact that you've lost Worthy, but you lose Giles Jackson too. So those are two of the faster wide receivers that you.
How much of that, by the way, played a part in this whole Xavier Worthy thing? Because I didn't.
Those guys are close.
I was going to say, wasn't part of the reason Worthy decided to come to Michigan was because of Giles?
Partially, I guess. I don't know. It's on one hand, you kind of want to pile on Michigan, but on the other hand, it's like, think about all of these strange, outside of Najee Harris, like, that massively worked out for him. But it always just seemed to me like a lot of these strange recruitment sagas. Chris Clark is the one that comes to mind. I think he was he finished his college career having played for like 5 or 6 schools. So I'm not bagging on the kid. Like, it seems like he wanted to be here, and this is less on, like, if there is a part that's on Sarkisian and Texas and negative recruiting, I believe that's there. And I know there are people inside the building that believe that was there, but some of those other factors didn't really make it easier for Michigan either. And I tend to believe that kind of played a little bit more of a factor because position coach, like Josh Gaddis is still there coaching the wide receivers, coordinating the offense. Nothing really changed there. So it is odd, but all we know is odd. So
yeah.
So I like that wide receiver room though. Still, I think I do too. Top three. Yeah. With, I think your best 3 last year when they were on the field at one time was Ronnie Bell, Cornelius Johnson, Roman Wilson. I think with just those 3, you could have something there, and then whatever you get from everyone else is kind of gravy.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, I feel like it's pretty few and far between that you get a true freshman receiver that really makes a huge difference at the highest level of college football.
Right.
Anyway,
it's been a long time.
You remember 2017, we banked on that ridiculous wide receiver class coming in, Tariq Black, Donovan Peoples-Jones, and Nico Collins all coming in, and the offense wasn't very good in 2017, man. I know Tariq started out pretty good.
A wide
in the
receiver
first
went
couple of
over
games
a
before he got
calendar
hurt.
year without catching a touchdown.
Yeah. So I mean,
That was more on
what
quarterbacks than anything
was
else.
Xavier Worthy going to help this year? Probably. Was he going to be like a God-saving grace to the offense? Like, no, but you're going to feel his impact probably 2 to 3 years down the line, you know?
Yeah. No,
We also had, I mean, you have any final thoughts on this Xavier Worthy situation?
I don't have anything else to add. No.
If he does go to Texas and play for Sark, I think he's going to probably do very well there. So
Yeah.
I don't know if
probably.
Sarkisian's going to work at Texas, but I think they'll be good offensively. So that'll be fun.
I'm a little confused by the other news we got here today, man. It sounds like we have a Joe Milton transfer destination. And I saw someone point this out, and it was perfect. I can't remember who was on Twitter, said pretty much he's just going to the Michigan of the South.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what Tennessee is. So this is a interesting move on his part. Tennessee is like, I don't know if it's just Tennessee. Like before the Titans were good, I just kind of forgot they existed like every once in a while. And that's kind of just how I feel about Vols football too, you know?
Yeah. The thing about Tennessee football is I don't think they were ever as good as people think. Like they had really like a 5-year stretch with Philip Fulmer where they were elite, but they were never like the perennial power winning SEC championships every other year the way Michigan was in the 70s and 80s in the Big Ten. But I mean, yeah, Michigan's gotten and lost a lot of quarterbacks over the last real 10, 15 years. And some have gone on to mild success, but most haven't. Like Spate didn't do anything at UCLA. I probably, and this is crazy, I might be leaving somebody out, but the most successful one that they've lost was probably Shane Morris.
Central Michigan, baby.
Exactly. I mean, he had a nice little, they had a nice little year there. So, for the most part, when people have left Michigan's program, they weren't that particularly great at Michigan and they didn't end up being great anywhere else. With that said, if there's one who I feel like could be capable of breaking the mold, it might be Milton. I don't know. I still am not sure what happened with him. Because we saw flashes. You know, you can take any random play from 2018 in garbage time against Ohio State and make it look cool, but he played a nice game against Minnesota last year. A very efficient ball game. They lost to Michigan State, and if they had a great quarterback, they might have ended up winning, but he wasn't the reason they lost that game. Like, you know,
Ricky White was the reason they lost that game.
Right. And you know, Don Brown doing single coverage all on 4 verticals every single time MSU threw the ball deep that game. But then all of a sudden it was after the Indiana game, all his confidence was just completely shook. And it got to like, it was a quick nosedive where he went from pretty darn good to we'll see to like, I mean, when Steven did the breakdowns of the Wisconsin game, it was just astonishing. Like this was a quarterback who was so unconfident with himself that he wasn't going through his progressions. And I mean, literally throwing the ball borderline intentionally to the other team. It felt like at points. So I know he's got the build for it. I know he's got the makeup. I wish him the best. How he develops at Tennessee, if he ends up having a lot of success, I think the view of the Harbaugh era then changes once again. Because if they have a really great quarterback that goes to another school and succeeds, I mean, people are going to be getting the torches and pitchforks out because if you lost an elite talent, I don't think he'll be elite. I don't think he'll be great, but the ceiling is still there.
I will say,
there. Honestly,
yeah. I mean, he's just got to be average to start at Tennessee. I would imagine. I mean, they've been. Because he started here, obviously, but Cade, I guess, should have been the guy. I don't know. Like,
I don't know.
I still can't wrap my head around just that fall from grace from the Minnesota game last year. I literally cannot wrap my head around it.
So quick.
Like, I know Michigan wasn't a good football team, but damn, they played pretty good that night. And I know Minnesota wasn't great, but what did Wisconsin scored 10 points in their next 3 games after the Michigan game, and Michigan made them look like they were going to be Rose Bowl champs, they weren't a good team, Wisconsin, and Michigan made them look like they were the greatest team in college football. I do not know what happened after that Minnesota game. That was the most mind-blowing thing I'll never be able to get over.
Yeah.
They had a confidence and a poise problem. And I think that's been there, but it came to a head last year, and it was pretty ugly. When they got punched in the mouth, it was over. There was no fight in that team at all.
And do you remember after that Minnesota game, they were like, "This team is different because we're not like that." That was the thing that entire week.
Yeah,
it's
bad.
There was no composure. They got too high and then they got way too low and couldn't come back from that. Even if who's to say even if they win that Michigan State game that the bottom doesn't still fall out, because I just don't think there was a center, a center, mindful center for them to come back to.
Right.
There was so much pressure on them given what had happened the last few, it just all kind of came to an ugly head, and it doesn't help. Like I said, I told someone this a couple weeks ago when we were talking quarterbacks and Joe Milton. You're asking a guy to go out there down 2 scores already because you get punched in the mouth on the first offensive drive of the game or the first defensive possession of the game. You come out and go 3 and out, or you turn the ball over. Your defense comes out, gets punched in the mouth again. You're down 2 scores before you even off of the scripted play sheet yet. So, and Milton was obviously a guy who didn't do very well off script. So, how's he going to do at Tennessee? I mean, no disrespect to him, but who really cares? Because if he sucks, he'll have been the quarterback bust that originally started at Michigan. And if he's great, it will be because he got terrible coaching at Michigan.
Right.
And you look at him too, and he has 3 years of eligibility remaining, and I don't know how long he'll choose to serve that out, but he's 6'5", 6'6", 240, 245. I almost wonder, given that the quarterback has gone so poorly for him, maybe he could play tight end. And I know that's the position change thing is cliche, and especially when it comes, everyone wants to change the position of the black quarterback. We know how that goes. It's annoying. It's stupid. Look at the Lamar Jackson thing. But I wonder, physically speaking, if he would be a pretty good tight end. Because Michigan was able to take Zach Gentry and turn him into whatever it was, a 5th round pick. But
the NFL's turned Logan Thomas into a pretty good tight end.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of weird how Ed Warner talked about this in a media session. I think we were still doing scrums in person, and he said that he made a comment about how these high school tight ends kind of get frustrated because they get turned into offensive linemen once they get to college. And he's like, all right, well, do me a favor. Go look at what tight ends make, and then go look at what the top offensive linemen make. Mm-hmm. And it's funny that those guys in high school go from tight end to offensive line, and these quarterbacks go from quarterback to tight end. It's weird how the positions change like that. That was a tangent, but it happens.
I mean, I'm certainly going to be rooting for Joe Milton. I mean, it would be cool to see him succeed. It just obviously wasn't going to happen here. And then last year, the culture, it just everything went sour. So I hope he does well. Kind of. And he, especially being in a different conference, I rooted for Brandon Peters in the same conference. If he wasn't playing Michigan, it was good to see him go to Illinois and have some success, So I'll be rooting for him. It's Tennessee, man. They're the exact same as Michigan. They're just playing the SEC. So I can't imagine that there's going to be success there.
Yeah, I was surprised he didn't go to UCF or something. But then,
right,
Tennessee's new coach is from UCF, so maybe there was a little bit of a relationship. It's a transfer isn't always about, the guy just wants to go where he can start. Maybe it's just a place where he's comfortable.
Right.
Is it going to be more fun to sit, let's just say he's a backup quarterback at Tennessee. You're going to have more fun doing that at Tennessee or doing it at Michigan, where there's an insane amount of pressure on everyone. Everyone has kind of dragged you through the mud on social media. And the second the guy above you struggles, they're going to love you, and if you make a mistake, they'll hate you. It's just, it's so toxic.
That's right. You're the most popular guy in town to be the backup at Michigan, man.
Oh, yeah, that's the best. they're always one guy away, so it's always the next guy. Yeah, I know. I feel
I would try and be Alex Moran as much as I could at U of M.
Dan Villari, I bet you, is the happiest man on the Michigan roster. Because I mean, I'm sure he wants to play, but you get to wear that white helmet, you get to look cool standing on the sidelines like this, and man,
I'll say this: JJ McCarthy, man, enjoy this year.
Yeah, you're going to be the savior for a calendar year. Yeah, I know.
Well, we didn't talk about this pre-show, but maybe let's move to that. Caden McNamara is the starting quarterback, and this is they've named that. Like Jim Harbaugh hasn't, but
this is probably the earliest we've ever actually had like Sid Shea.
We knew that Shea Patterson would start the 2 years he was here, but they competition's ongoing.
Yeah.
I think McNamara is a starting quarterback.
Yeah. I think that there's strategy to that. I know Harbaugh has not specifically come out and said it, but that's one of the reasons why I've never liked 2 quarterback systems in general. Is I always feel like it hurts the confidence of one quarterback knowing you got another guy breathing down your neck if you throw an errant pass or an interception. I think their idea is, all right, you know what? Let's establish this. He's our guy. He's going to be here. He's our quarterback going forward. Trying to instill in him the confidence that he's going to be the guy, which I don't think is a terrible idea. And yeah, I mean, I guess I kind of just figured it'd be Cade anyway, but yeah, it seems like he's firmly established himself, and really McCarthy and the other transfer, they haven't really had enough time to establish themselves anyway. So yeah, go make it Cade.
Yeah, I mean, at least going into fall camp, I guess anything could happen when we do get into fall camp, but I'm fully expecting. I thought Cade did a good job last year, as much as it was. And, obviously going to have to try to adjust with some receivers that are going to be a little more comfortable in the system. I think that's at the end of the day, you got to have guys to throw to, so. I mean, if we do have some of these guys like Andrell Anthony that are and AJ Henning that are a little more comfortable in the system here this year, I mean, if Eric All, apparently he's got great hands in practice, but if he transitions that to games and he doesn't drop a bunch of wide open passes, like we know Michigan loves to use those tight ends, so that's a guy that could have a big year too. I mean, the weapons are probably going to be there this year. I think Cade showed some glimpses that he could certainly be the guy and lead this team to some wins.
Yeah, and here's the thing I like about Cade McNamara as a quarterback. And again, we haven't seen a ton of him, but even coming out of high school, like he was just a guy that comes in and runs the offense, makes the throws, makes the appropriate read. He might not make the Patrick Mahomes, highlight reel play where he scrambles 50 yards out of the backfield and throws with his left hand with his eyes closed, whatever. But I think Cade, like what this offense needs is to go back to the basics of what this system is going to be, which what we've said before, it's a West Coast kind of a pro spread passing attack, and just run the offense and put your best guys on the field. Cade McNamara, I like that they've just named Cade McNamara the starter because to me, it takes the pressure off of JJ McCarthy because anything he does he's not expected to start. So anything he does in his development is gravy this year. And I do think he's going to play at some point. But, like I said, back to basics with Cade McNamara. Just run your offense, get your best, most comfortable guys on the field. Hopefully that means that you're going to figure out who your 1 to 2 best running backs are and not do this carousel of 4 or 5 guys getting touches and then one guy not seeing the field, like Hassan Haskins having 50 yards on one drive and then not seeing the field for 2 more series. That type of shit has to stop.
Yeah, I hope the Mike Hart edition kind of puts an end to that.
That's going to be huge here because that's the biggest upgrade they've made is forget that there's the Michigan alum nameplate next to him. That's probably the best running back coach hire you could possibly make right now for any program. So, and it sounds like, I mean, again, everything sounds like everyone had a good spring, but Blake Corum, we saw flashes of what he can do. Hassan Haskins, we know what he is. He's going to get you tough yards. He's going to, put his shoulder down.
He's RB1. Like that's the other thing they need to establish too that you just mentioned is, he should be getting 20 to 25 carries a game next year.
Yeah. And Donovan Edwards, like, he's a 5-star dude and physically looks the part, can catch the ball out of the backfield. Like, if those are your 3 guys, you just ride the hot hand. And you don't need to, this isn't, T-ball where everyone gets a trophy at the end of the day. And there's ice cream after the game, whether you whiffed at the ball that was on the tee or not. Put your best guys out there. I think that's going to be important with the offensive line. I mean, God, it's important everywhere. Hot take: you need your best players on the field at all times.
That's why I know for this the last little bit of the show, we want to take some questions because I know we got another stream coming up here at 8:30 on the Maize and Brew YouTube channel, and I want to use that as a jumping off point here, Anthony. Some guy, that's his name. I'm not just saying some guy in the YouTube comments asked this. Who will be the returner now that Giles Jackson is gone? And I don't know, what his ball skills are on catching punts or catching kicks or anything like that. But you just mentioned, I would love to see Donovan Edwards be that guy because he is lightning in a bottle. And, if you don't want him to get the extra hits because he's going to be used in the running back rotation with Corum and Haskins, I get it. But man, he is electric. That dude's got world-class speed, and that's something that it's felt like, Michigan sometimes is lacking, but he's certainly got it, kind of similar to what Giles had. So I would personally love to see Donovan Edwards, if he's capable, to be maybe the top return guy on this team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean,
I agree with you.
Blake Corum, Daxton Hill, whoever your best. I mean, I have no issue with whoever your best athlete is.
Dax was a good returner in high school, wasn't he?
Yeah, that might be my pick.
Get that Jabril Peppers going. That's the thing. Like, if you go back and watch that 2016 year, Jabril saved so many yards of field position by running up and catching punts that everyone else in the country would have let bounce and take bad bounces and lose 20 yards of field position. You need someone like that. Like, if Dax is, he's been labeled as the next Jabril coming in, if he goes and does that, maybe start using him a little on offense. I don't care. Just win some games. Like, I would be 100% cool with that.
Yeah. Get your best guy back there. Your most athletic guy. I mean, it was kind of a circus with DPJ back there at times, but I thought he was pretty good at that.
Yeah. Yep.
So yeah, we'll see. I don't have any thing to add there. I kick returner, punt return. That's one of those things where people always ask. I mean, it is important. People ask about it, and it's just kind of like, for me, it's more when the game starts and they go, Blake Corum is returning kicks. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
See how that goes.
This goes back to the Jabril thing, though. Our very own Steven Osentoski here. He said Dax is too valuable for PR duties. Like, Jabril was the most valuable dude on that 2016 team, and he was out there, catching punts. So I don't see it as a problem, to be quite honest with you. I know there's always you risk injury a little bit. I get that, but
if he's far and away,
if he's the guy, if he's going to flip field position and save field position, like, Michigan's, I feel like, it has lost a lot on special teams too, like that. I feel like that's very overlooked as a part of this program. So anything you can do to help that, I'd be down with.
Well, it's one of those things where, like, if he was far and away your best guy, then yeah, you get him out there. But if it's, let's just say he's slightly better than Mike Sainer still, or in terms of that aspect of the game, then you put the other guy and take a little bit less off of Dax's plate. I don't have a problem with that, but they've talked about before on special teams, they have no problem putting their best guys out there because it's an important. They were terrible in that phase of the game last year, so yeah, we'll see. It was just a name. It's Dax Hill. If it was Dax Hill, if Zach Zinter was your best returner, then yeah, you'd put him. That's all I'm saying here. So, but speaking of Steven, here's one for you. What cornerbacks will break through this year? I'll let you start with that, Luke.
I mean, they were so bad last year, man. Are we really? I don't even want to say anyone's going to break through. First of all, I don't know.
So that was the only position, to me, that was the only position group that there was tangible success from season start to season.
Yeah.
Or tangible improvement, I should say.
I also don't know.
When you start 50 feet underwater, then yes, eventually you might reach the surface.
Well, this is part of the thing, and I know
like
the spring game was super vanilla, but I kind of want to know, like a lot's going to have to do with what Mike McDonald's going to be running back there, or calling defenses.
Yeah.
Like I don't know who's suited for whatever scheme that they're going to be running.
I would say DJ Turner and Jalen Perry are probably next in line behind Jamon Green and Vincent Gray. I think it's all probably in that type of group. I think we might see some big nickel out of them this year, where like you bring in another safety and Dak slides to the slot. They're going to do some different things, and we talked about this last week when it comes to Mo Linguist. Like, hopefully, it's not too complicated of verbiage and things like that. There are good players on this defense, but I just don't. They're all on the defensive line. Like, I don't know where the other good players are at right now. So we'll see.
Yeah, I know. Obviously, you've got a lot of guys that were, highly touted recruits that are, and some guys that were like freshmen to young players last year that I think it's going to be a much better group anyway, or I hope so.
Well, again, to quote Chris Castellani, when you start 50 feet underwater, if you can see any sunlight swimming towards the top, then you've made tangible progress there.
I will say this. I believe last season, Vincent Gray especially, what happened with him was far more reflection of the situations the coaches put him in as opposed to how I know he wasn't some super highly touted recruit, but when you are getting beat, what was it, like 7 times in one game in man-to-man coverage, you got to make adjustments, and the coaches didn't. Now, when they did, and in fairness to Don Brown, I know he's gone, but in slight fairness, they did make slight enough adjustments to where you saw Vincent Gray make a few plays in the latter half of the season. And the season was over at that point, but you saw some improvement. I don't believe last year is a reflection of the kind of player he actually is. Same with a lot of these cornerbacks. I think that that was just a horrible situation, a kind of tornado of awful that went down with the constant man-to-man coverages. I do think that group will be better. I think they're more talented than how they played.
Yeah, the most frustrating thing about the defensive backs last year is that when you go back and watch film of some of those games, and I don't recommend that unless you're a sadist, but there are times where like the technique is good, and then for a split second, it's like the Xbox controller died when it just goes to hell. Mm-hmm. There were a lot of like split second mistakes. And I think some of that might be lack of awareness and lack of experience, and other, I don't know. Maybe someone is playing a controller up in the football heavens and just likes to laugh. I don't know, but yeah, I don't know. Let's take,
what else we got?
I think we got time for one more. This one's from Let's Toast Media. We know Jim likes transfers. Can Alan Bowman catch Cade this fall? I don't think so.
I'd say no.
Yeah.
I'm of the opinion, I've been wrong before. Anyone who's scrubbed through this podcast knows that. Alan Bowman was brought in to be like the third/number 2 quarterback insurance in case there's an injury.
Well, you lost 2. You lost McCaffrey and you lost Milton. You need bodies.
You can't be put in a position. And again, I'm not trying to disrespect Dan Villari. To me, he's a folk hero now. But you can't put yourself in a position where you're an injury away from him taking snaps in a game, because he's not. I don't know if he can play or not. I mean, he was the number 1,100 recruit in the country and like a last minute replacement. And again, I'm not disrespecting him, but he's a body in the room. And if they felt positive about him, they wouldn't go out and get a quarterback transfer. So I know the narrative is that Jim Harbaugh is transfer quarterback happy. And I know that Alan Bowman has started games in the Big 12, but he hasn't been good and he's been injured a lot. So I just feel like he's a break in case of emergency quarterback. But we know how quickly. I mean, they were going to play a game last year where had 20 guys available, and Mike Barrett was going to be your quarterback out of the Wildcats. So emergency is always possible. Especially, I mean, again, this pandemic might go into the fall. We don't know. So you could lose someone at any point. So to raise the floor of that quarterback room with at least someone who's played Power 5 games before, it's not sexy. And I know what the narratives are around it, but I think Cade is your guy and JJ's the number 2. I think that's how this is going to be laid out.
You have
I would
no
be
idea.
concerned if Alan Bowman comes in like 6 weeks, catches either of those guys. That's a major concern, and I might just fire everyone right off the bat if that's the case.
Yeah,
I just got a little bit triggered when you just mentioned Wildcat. I would like to see a lot less of that this year.
yeah. How about you bury it as far? Yeah, put it with the Ark of the Covenant and have it be examined by top men in that same from Raiders of the Lost Ark, because I don't need to see that ever again.
Yeah, I mean, I think Anthony, what you just said, that'd actually be a massive concern, and I'm not gonna disrespect Alan Bowman and say that he's JOK right off the bat, but it would probably, be.
I'm not gonna not say that.
Right, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I mean, oh no, let's hope it goes Cade, then JJ, and then Bowman's, kind of a body.
Yeah, we want Alan Bowman to like be on the same level of like not knowing the long snapper's name this year. Like just
right.
That just means everything's going A-okay. So
what do we got? We got one more, or are we wrapping it up right there?
Let's see. This isn't very interesting for the people listening on the podcast afterwards. Just scrubbing through any last. I don't have anything else here. Okay, here's one last one from Ross. Can Junior Colson be as good as Devin Bush Jr.?
Well, I hope so.
Tall order.
That'd be nice. I mean, wishful thinking here. I mean, I don't think it's impossible that he could be that, but man, is that a lot to live up to.
If you're asking me if he can be the number 10 overall pick in the draft and an All-American and multiple-time All-Big Ten performer, it's hard for me to say but the kid can play.
Don't put the expectations there. If
I'm
it
not putting
happens,
the expectation there. I will
be
say
excited about it, but
I think he's going to play, and he's going to play a lot this year. That's my prediction. So
yeah,
especially enrolling early, like this, I don't think the defense is going to be good. So if you're going to take lumps, I'm not going to do it with, the fifth unnamed Glasgow brother out there. I'm going to do it with my young guys. So, I hope so.
Colson's more likely to be Cam McGrone than Devin Bush.
I don't even know what Cam McGrone is, honestly. I don't know what he is. Yeah. He didn't play enough games at Michigan. I know what he looked like he can be, but who knows? I think that's and here's from Steven.
Wow.
Cool thing. Steven says he does have a ceiling closer to that of Micah Parsons.
Wow. I would take that.
That's a reliable source.
That every day of the week.
Yeah, no kidding. I think that's okay. Positive football talk. End the show. Let's go.
Yeah, I like it. We're getting there are some positive Wolverine fans left out there, I guess. I love it. I appreciate you guys balancing us out.
Yeah.
Well, I'll put it to you this way. Brandon Graham is one of my favorite Michigan defenders of all time, and he played on some of the worst Michigan defenses I've ever seen. So we can enjoy individual talents. Aiden Hutchinson, whether they have him playing up front, I mean, he's probably going to play up front. He's going to do the rush linebacker thing, I assume. I'm going to enjoy watching that guy play. I likely will not enjoy watching the sum of the parts of the defense. So, namely the back end. But we'll see what happens. I would love to be proven wrong, because I do think somewhere deep down inside this football team, there are 9 to 10 wins. I believe it's there somewhere, but I'm not very confident that it's going to happen. This is probably a 7 or 8 win football team.
Yeah.
My parting shot here, way too early, by the way, because it's still April, is that it's felt like when the expectations have been low, Michigan exceeds them. And when they are high, they fall incredibly short of them.
I don't know. Like, what were the expectations last year? I mean, we weren't talking Big Ten title. We were like, I don't remember what the narrative was.
After Minnesota, people were.
Yeah.
My kind of idea with last season was, by the end of the season, can we realistically look at this team and say that in 2021 they got a shot at winning the conference? We knew that last year was in a way going to be kind of a rebuilding year. Though I would argue year 6 you shouldn't be building anything, but I was like, if by the end of this year we look at this and say, you know what, this might be a team that can compete for something next season, I'd view it as a success. I think I had them going 6-3, 7-2.
Yeah, I think most people had about 2 losses, where 2 wins was more of the correct prediction on that. So I don't know. I prefer it to be this way, to be quite honest with you, than like 2019. Where you come in as a top 5 team in the country and you kind of lay an egg a little bit against Middle Tennessee, and then you really lay an egg against Army. Like, that's not fun. I'd rather them try and.
I'd rather lay an egg and win a game than lay an egg and lose to Michigan State like they did, or lose to Wisconsin like they did, or lose. Can you just lose by Ohio State by like 14 this year instead of getting 70? And this is the most ironic thing of it all, is that this is maybe the least confident any Michigan fan has been about the football team. Mm-hmm. Yet this might be the most vulnerable Ohio State team coming up that they've had in like 10 years.
Yeah, so, you're probably right.
Not getting anyone's hopes up. I'm just saying, like, and we know they'll figure it out by the end of the year. Will their counterpart come to play that last weekend of the year? I don't know.
If this Ohio State team is more vulnerable than that 2018 team, I am going to be really upset when Michigan does not win that game.
Well, 2018, at least you knew their quarterback was Dwayne Haskins. Like, who's
right? I don't know. I don't know. Probably going to be some great transfer or something.
Yeah, it'll be somebody who set the world on fire. Yeah, I know.
All right, I know we got to get out of here. K. Lucas Gaming, apologies we didn't get to any basketball questions. I know this was more of a football kind of focused podcast. We'll definitely talk some basketball again next week. I saw your Franz question at the top of the show. Apologies that we did not get to it here today, but come back next week and we'll talk about that for sure. I know we got to get out of here. We got another stream. I'll let Anthony tell you about what's coming up here tonight, and tell us where we can find you, Anthony.
Yeah, well, there's another stream coming like 10 minutes from now, and by the time people hear the podcast version of this, it will just be on the YouTube page talking about Junior Colson from Steven Ostentowski. So those of you who want to stick around and talk some shop, Steven will be on another link stream here on the YouTube page in a couple minutes, and then that will be archived on the site afterwards. But we're going to do this YouTube, Twitch hybrid thing every week. Maybe we'll add Facebook Live to it, but Facebook is a cesspool of comments all the time. So I don't know if I want to add that to this. I think this is pretty healthy.
I like the group we got. I've been entertained by this chat.
My team's on the floor, so to speak. So the wheel, I'll just say this right now. This isn't a spoiler or anything. Like, wheels are in motion. We will be doing a live stream on NFL draft night for the entirety of the first round. I'm still working on what that looks like, but we will be here for all of that. And it's not going to be like, I'm not going to screen share the draft. Like, it's more of like a second screen experience type thing. There's a couple fun things I want to do with it. A couple fun guests I'm working on getting on to hang out with. Like, it's just basically a live hangout where we'll take questions, react to picks, things like that. What does the lineup look like? I don't know yet. Who's going to be coming on? I'm working on it. Will there be fun things to do in addition to just us being here? To be determined, but that will be happening next Thursday, April 29th, I believe, 8:00. We'll be here for the entirety of the first round. So we're going to have fun with that. And that's my plug for everything this week.
Chris, what's going on with your social media, man?
A lot at Castellani 2014. There you'll find the links to everything. The YouTube page. I haven't watched a movie in a few weeks, but I'll get to something here soon. I've been staying busy. Tigers post-game videos. Videos have been popping off lately, people. I'm wearing suits now. What the hell happened there? And I'm not fat anymore. I just posted a thing and people seem to like that. So I have another show at Locked On Tigers. It's at Locked On Tigers on Twitter. Go to Apple Podcasts, go to iTunes, leave a written positive 5-star review of that show. We got things rolling there. The Tigers aren't very good, but I think the content has been. And I'm doing stuff on Instagram too. Post stories, more personal stuff, but that's fine. Chris Castle 95, ChrisCastle 95. So, check me out on all those platforms and give me a follow.
You can find me on Twitter at Luke Giardi, LUKEGHIARDI. If you're watching on YouTube or Twitch, there is an I between an H and the A in my name. So if you go search that Twitter handle, it will not work out that well for you. You will not find me.
You let the whole show go like that.
I did. I didn't want to. I'm not going to make a big deal about it. I just do that with the when the social media time comes. Make sure to follow the Brewcast Show page and Maize in Brew. Also, YouTube and Twitch. Subscribe so you know when we're going live. Seriously, it's so much fun having you guys in the comments, asking questions. Love interacting with you guys. You guys got some really great questions, so really appreciate that. And definitely subscribe. And for those listening on the podcast, don't forget we're doing the live thing every Monday night about 7:30, so you can come and check that out. If not, subscribe, rate, leave a review. You can ask questions in the comments on iTunes, Spotify, whatever. We'll get to those as well. So for my partners, Anthony Broom and Chris Castellani, I'm Luke Yardy, and we'll see you next week on Brewcast.